I find myself conflicted after today's, I don't know how you want to call it, just a really disappointing day at Rupp Arena. Welcome to the Cat Scratch Podcast. My name is Alex Frank, covering the Kentucky Wildcats for CLNS Media. It is Saturday, March 1st, 2025, the first day of the month of March, the best month of the year. March is the best month of the year. March Madness, the NCAA tournament, conference tournaments, the last 2 weekends, and then full week of the regular season. And unfortunately for Kentucky, it was just a really, really disappointing day. They trailed from start to finish. Miles Kelly hits a three on the first possession for Auburn, and well, the Tigers were off and running. 94-78 the final score. Kentucky falls to 19-10, 8-8 in the SEC. Auburn clinching um, the SEC regular season championship. Just a what a tremendous team. They're now, what are they? They're now 27-2, 15-1 in the SEC. Their only loss at home to Florida, which is not a bad loss at all. Just a really, man, that was a buzzsaw Kentucky ran into today. Real quick, some final numbers from the game. Kentucky shooting, they did shoot 46% from the floor, which overall isn't bad. They actually out rebounded the Tigers. This is the crazy thing, 38-23, including 12-5 on the offensive glass. But the biggest difference in the game was Kentucky was 4 of 17 from three. Auburn was 12 of 26. Auburn attempted 9 more threes and made 8 more. If Kentucky hits 4 more threes, this game is a lot closer. Kentucky with 12 assists to a very disappointing 18 turnovers. Auburn with 8 assists to 8 turnovers, but they just had so many players make plays. For Kentucky, they were led in scoring. They actually had 2 players hit 20-plus points. Kobe Brea with 21 points, 4 of 7 from 3, 6 rebounds. They had Andrew Carr with 20 points, 7 of 11 from the field. And then Amari Williams with another double-double, 13 points, 14 rebounds. He led Kentucky in rebounds. He also led Kentucky in assists with 7. But no other player had more than 1 assist. Meanwhile, Lamont Butler and Amari Williams both had 5-plus turnovers. Williams had 6. And then you look at Auburn, Miles Kelly, 22 points, or 30 points, 9 of 14 from 3. 9 for 14 from 3. Chad Baker Mazzara with 22 points, 6 of 12 from the floor. Janai Broome goes for 9 points and 6 rebounds. Is 3 of 9 from the floor. He did have 3 steals in 33 minutes. He was still plus 14 on the floor. 21 points for Tahad Pettiford with 4 assists in 33 minutes. This game was just disappointing, frustrating. Janai Broome scores 1 point. 1 point in the first half. And you lose, and you're down by 15? How? At some point you have to, or we have to say, what is Kentucky not doing that's causing them to be down by 15? Like, what are they doing or not doing? Because a National Player of the Year candidate scores 1 point and you're down by 15 at halftime. I was struggling to fathom that at halftime. Like, at some point, we have to. I don't know what the words are. Like, it was so frustrating. Kentucky got to the line, they rebounded, but it was just stupid, boneheaded mistakes. Stupid, boneheaded mistakes. I thought this team was getting better, and I still think they are. This is more of how good Auburn is. Excuse me. I am willing to say that a majority of what took place today at Rupp Arena, in addition to ABC losing power in their production truck, which I read was caused by a fire in their generator, which that is some serious stuff. I mean, whew, that's got to be scary. So instead of bashing on them, I'm going to send some prayers and some thoughts and prayers to everyone who had to deal with that and get that situated. That's got to be a scary situation. So the majority of this game was how good Auburn is. It's not just because they have Janai Broome. I said this going into this game. It's about Kentucky minimizing the impact that Auburn's supporting cast players have. Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, Tahad Pettiford, Chad Baker-Mazara. It was those guys I was keen on. I knew Janai Broome was going to show up. He doesn't, but again, Kentucky lets a guy like Miles Kelly impact the game. I mean, he had 5 threes before the halfway point of the first half. How does this happen? Again, it is Auburn, but at the same time, you can tip the scale slightly to say, well, what is Kentucky not doing? This is the second time in 3 games they've allowed 90-plus points to a top 14. It's the third time in the last month they've allowed 90-plus points to a really good offense. And against top 4 teams, they have now just their defense hasn't shown up. And when your offense turns the ball over, which Kentucky did way too many times today, bounce passes that led to steals, not getting across half court or taking a long time getting across half court, just trying to take a guy one-on-one and losing the ball. I mean, it was just an embarrassing performance to watch in terms of ball handling, taking care of the ball. Your margin for error, I don't care how good a team is. I don't care if you're Alabama. I don't care if you're Duke. The margin for error when you play the number 1 team in the country, a team that is number 1 is good, not just because they have a really good player. It's because they have good supporting cast players. That is exactly what this is about. That is exactly what this game was about. It was about Miles Kelly and Chad Baker-Mazara making plays. Janai Broome got 2 fouls. There was a little bit of a conservative approach from him and Bruce Pearl, and the Tigers still win by 16. Again, that is a major credit to Auburn. But it's also just again, now that Jaxson Robinson is out for the season, and obviously we send him our best wishes, undergoing season-ending wrist surgery this coming week. Without him, you wonder what Kentucky's ceiling is. Because we saw today against the number 1 team in the country, what their ceiling is. I don't know how high it is. I still think this team could get to the Sweet 16. But if you're facing Auburn, or you're facing Florida, or Tennessee, or Duke, or Houston in the Sweet 16, and you have to play a darn near perfect game, I don't know if this team can. This team still gets in its own way. And today, the fact that he played the number 1 team in the country added to that. Because I think we can agree that the only team Kentucky can't beat is itself. Let me rephrase that. Kentucky, as long as they don't beat themselves, can beat any team in the country. Well, today they beat themselves, and they also lost to the number 1 team in the country. There is a sizable gap. Maybe that's okay because Auburn's really good. And again, I don't know. But I do know this. This team has won back-to-back games in SEC play just twice all season. Auburn is 15-1. 15-1. I think they were 9-0, lost to Florida. They've won 6 in a row since. 6 in a row. They still have 2 games left. At Texas A&M this coming week, and then home against Alabama to close out the regular season. They're going to be the overall number 1 seed. They're going to be. It has been brewing and brewing and brewing since Maui, essentially. It's now a fact. Auburn just went into Rupp Arena, a place where they haven't won since 1988, and destroyed Kentucky. They beat them start to finish. But there is some part of me that comes away from this game thinking that Kentucky's ceiling isn't as high as I thought it was. And I also was thinking about this, and I don't think this is true. I don't think that there is a lot of validity to this. But I do wonder just a little bit if the loss to Arkansas kind of affected this team more so than we thought. The shock of it. It's not like they played badly in that game. It's not. Arkansas played really well. But you look at what happened today to Arkansas and you go, how the heck did that team come into Rupp Arena last month and beat the Kentucky Wildcats? Kentucky had just beaten Tennessee. They still had Robinson. Butler was still coming back from injury. He was still working back from it. We all thought this team was going to beat Arkansas, get to 5-3 in the SEC, start rolling. They didn't. They had just beaten Tennessee. We were all feeling great. Mark Pope says this team was resilient. And since that game, they are now 4-5 in their last 9 games. Since February 1st, they're 4-5. They'll be 5-5 come after Tuesday night. At least they should against LSU. Are they going to be Missouri, though, next Saturday? Without Jaxson Robinson, their best, arguably one of their best offensive players. Because here's the thing. Lamont Butler is a great player. He's a great defensive player. But I don't know if he can necessarily take over a game when he has to. Otega Oweh, he had 28 points on Wednesday night. Today he had 4 fouls. Dumb fouls. Let me check that. Otega, because of course, a lot of us didn't get to watch the final part of the game. Otega Oweh today had 4 fouls and just 4 points. So for the second time in the last 3 games against top 4 opponents, Otega Oweh did not score double-digit points, and he picked up at least 4 fouls. When he's the leading scorer, but I don't know if we can come away from the game saying, by the way, Kentucky took the lead at one point today. I guess they did at 4-3. I thought it was start to finish. They took the lead for 12 seconds. Auburn led for 39-21. And the game was tied for 19 seconds. Wow. Again, Otega Oweh, I'm not sure if he can be this team's if he can put the team on his back in big games. He's got to be aggressive in big games, not just against Oklahoma. Like, he's got to be aggressive against teams like Auburn, because you're going to face him in the SEC tournament. You're going to face him in the NCAA tournament. I don't know if Otega Oweh can be that guy when he doesn't have Jaxson Robinson or Lamont Butler to be that guy. Otega Oweh is going to have to step up. And he can, but the last 2 games against top 4 teams, he hasn't. And that has me concerned. Lamont Butler is a great defensive player. But how much of an impact can he make offensively? Losing Jaxson Robinson is not going to doom the whole season. I believe that. But it does impact it in a significant way, because he was your best wing player, besides Kobe Brea, arguably. Because Robinson does have the ability to shoot, and he has the ability to score, and he just stretches your offense. You're going to have to get creative here if you're Mark Pope. LSU's a good team to do it against. They're not very good. But what are you going to do against Missouri if the Tigers start shooting the ball lights out? What are you going to do if you run into an Arkansas in the SEC tournament? Or you run into Trey Johnson in Texas? Or you run into in the quarterfinals of Florida or in Alabama or in Auburn? Or Tennessee even? That's what I come away from this loss. This is not all Kentucky in terms of them just not playing well. Auburn's really good. But where is Kentucky's ceiling? Every time this team beats Tennessee, or they beat Oklahoma in dramatic fashion, they just have not put it all together yet. And I get it, it's the SEC. But I saw Tennessee beat Florida by 20 without their 2 best players. I just saw South Carolina beat Arkansas by, it felt like 50. Like, Arkansas beat Texas when Trey Johnson scores 39. Like, I'm struggling to figure out where this team is going into the SEC tournament. And now without Jaxson Robinson, you're going to have guys step up that can, but I don't know if they will. Because the lack of aggression today, it just felt like this team was timid, playing not to lose. ABC, before they lost power, showed the pregame speeches for both teams. Mark Pope in Kentucky, you could feel the tension in the room. Like, okay, we can do this, but will we do this? Meanwhile, Bruce Pearl, he's getting Auburn fired up. He's hooting and hollering, and Auburn's guys come out loose, and they rain in threes. And, yeah. I mean, in the first half, Auburn in the first half was 7 of 16 from 3, 16 of 32 from the floor. Miles Kelly has 5 threes and 17 points. Chad Baker-Mazar has 16. Todd Pettiford has 11. Kentucky's first half, on the other hand, 9 of 27 overall from the floor, 1 of 9 from 3, 5 assists, 10 turnovers, 4 from Amari Williams. You're seeing how limited this team is, but you're also seeing that this team, they have guys that can step up, but I don't know if they will. I wonder if fatigue is setting in. I really do. Did this team peak when they, beat Gonzaga and then Louisville? Did the cracks start to show and we overlooked them against Ohio State when they lost by 20? You shouldn't have. They beat Florida scoring 106. Like, did this team and their limitations, did they start to show when they lost to Arkansas? I don't know. This is, again, what happens. All these questions that start to mount. All I know is Tuesday night, Kentucky takes on LSU, and that is a 7 o'clock game. I believe that's on ESPN2. Kentucky looking to win its last regular season home game before they go on the road to face Missouri before the SEC tournament in a week, just over a week, down in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. Kentucky, by the way, it is on ESPN2, 7 o'clock against LSU, Saturday at noon on ESPN against Missouri. That's going to do it for this edition of the Cat Scratch Podcast, powered by CLNS Media. I'm Alex Frank, covering the Kentucky Wildcats for CLNS Media. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be at the game Tuesday night for coverage. Kentucky hosts LSU. Once again, thank you for listening to the Cat Scratch Podcast, powered by CLNS Media. I'm Alex Frank. Have a great rest of your day and weekend. I'll talk to you next time right here on the Cat Scratch Podcast, powered by CLNS Media. Like, you